Well, Happy New Year, followers of the PipeCat channel. Thanks for visiting us once again. This is Larry's tummy and man boobs from the PipeCat channel. And I have a box opening for you that actually has a bit of a backstory to it. This box contains a guitar that I went on a waiting list for 2 years ago. Some of you may be familiar with the GuitarFetish website. GuitarFetish.com or GFS, as a lot of people refer to it, for discount Asian-made parts and guitars that are basically made to the American specification and are actually pretty damn good for the money. I have bought many pickups from GFS and other parts too, and accessories, and I've been pretty pleased with most of those. I mean, something that you can get at GFS for $35 or $40, you would pay Gibson or Fender probably $100 for, just by comparison. And what you get is comparable. And I've actually conducted some blind audio tests with those. Hey, what do you think of this pickup versus this pickup? And had somebody say, I can't tell the difference. And I said, well, one was even something like a Seymour Duncan, vintage single coil or something like that, compared to one of the same designation of pickup from GuitarFetish, and they couldn't tell the difference. So, Earl Slick is a guy who's played guitar for some pretty big names in the industry. He's been with Bowie, I think, just a number of people. And he's your basic rock guitar player. I wouldn't call him virtuous or anything, but he knows the industry and he knows the sound, and he can get that rock sound. And that's kind of the way I play. So when Earl Slick came out with a line of guitars and said that he was going to market them through GFS, I thought, wow. So I surfed the internet here and there, and I looked on YouTube for Slick guitars to see which one I liked the best. And I found some really great reviews for this one right here. And this is a Slick SL57 black ash Strat style guitar. Okay? It's supposed to have that vintage, probably like, 57 sound, I suppose. And when I went to order one 2 years ago, they were out of stock. And I got on the waiting list for one. And it wasn't until the beginning of November that I got an email that said, they're back in stock, do you want one? And I knew how quickly they were going to go. I just jumped on the site, and in the middle of Christmas shopping, I freed up $300 and ordered one of these. I actually ordered it with a case, and wouldn't you know that the case was out of stock. So I quickly emailed them and said, I don't want to miss out on the guitar. Send me whatever you have. Take the case off the order. An actual person will answer your email and will say to you, well, what do you want me to do? And I said to him, just leave the case off the order. He says, well, I have to leave the case on the order. He says, are you telling me to just ship what we have of your order? I go, yes, ship me an incomplete order. He says, are you still going to want the case? And I said, eventually maybe, but right now, because it's out of stock, I don't want it holding up the order, because then somebody else will order one without the case and get the last one in stock. I don't want that to happen. He said, I'll tell you what I'll do. He says, I'll ship it as an incomplete order, and I'll bill you for the case, but then I'll issue you a refund for the case as a return without you ever having seen the case. And I didn't believe him at first. I said, that sounds shady, but I let him do it because I wanted this guitar. So he did. He actually honored his word, and the next day there was a credit for the case back in my account. And so this is what I got. I have not so much as opened this box, as you can see, which you're going to do with me right now. I got the trusty Razoo. Let's go ahead and get that started. Hopefully I won't need that again. High pressure Asian air. All right. Nice stuff. Let's see how isolated that box is. It's just a box in a box with a lot of bubble wrap around it. Let's see how she fared in shipping. This is actually, believe it or not, the higher quality bubble pack. It's that really strong sort of like, you know, it doesn't feel like saran wrap. It actually feels like hard plastic with a little bit of rubbery content and sticks together nice, which keeps it from shifting. In fact, you know what? These will be good to use in a moment when we get the cardboard out. So here we go. Alrighty. There's our little packing slip. Anything else in there? Nope, just more of the plastic. Oops. I kind of wanted that packing slip. It doesn't look any the worse for wear. The outside of the box didn't look bent or anything. This, you know, doesn't look like it has too much stress on it. Let's get that packing slip. Yep, Slick SL57 aged black ash with Alnico pickups. And check it out. It had a case with it. The guy crossed it out. I'll show you the price I paid. With the case, it came to $333.27. But you see, he later on refunded me the price of the case, which would have been a deal at $49. But that plus the taxes that they had to charge me for it, they took that off, and I actually got that back on my PayPal account. So there's that. Let's see how she looks inside the box. There is nothing holding this box together. They trusted just the bubble packaging to hold it together. Let's take a look. Pretty typical. Moving the cardboard around here. Okay, here's the packaging job. You can see it is supported at the neck with a taped down neck rest, which was a good idea, and at the contact points with padding of styrofoam. Another good idea. There are no creases in this box anywhere. It doesn't look like it was subject to any kind of stress. No more than you would expect. So let's take the guitar piece out of that box. Keep the box intact because you never can tell. This might need to take a trip. Oh, I like that. This stuff sticks to the table, so it's not going to slide off. That's a good thing. Let's use it. I'm going to put it on its back with the headstock sticking off the table so that it doesn't lean down. A Stratocaster guitar has a flat head profile. This does not, and I'll show you. Here's the little accessories that it came with. You've got the whammy bar, and you've got the truss rod adjuster, and you've got your little saddle height adjuster, Allen wrench as well. Put those aside. All right, elastic band comes off. Let's see what we got. Try to get as much of this in the shot as I can. All right. Let me get the foam bag off this baby and I'll show it to you. Wow. Here she is. That's almost unfinished. That is just wood. That is only mildly treated wood. I mean, you can feel the grains. I can feel the ridges. 1, 2, 3, 4. It's like a 4-piece body. Again, you're getting the Asian manufacturing version of an American product. Now look, you see the tilt in the headstock? I'll hold it flat. You see the tilt? Strats don't have that tilt. They are flat. So when you lay a Strat on its back, there's no tension at the head. If I go to lay this one on its back, yep, the headstock will hit. So, like a Les Paul or similar guitar, that's what you have to play with. This has been relicked in some way. I wasn't sure exactly how it was going to come, but it has got some features. Before I go over the features, let's look for damage, okay? One spot to always check, right there at that neck joint. Look and see if anything's cracked, if anything's loose. The glasses come off for that. I'm getting in close. Nothing obvious. With a body this unfinished. Look, even the plastic has been aged. Looks like they might have heat treated that. Hit it with some wax and hit it with heat and got it to yellow a bit. They did the same thing on the pick guard. Look at, pretty extreme too. Lots of it. Even the knobs have that look about them. So here I am at the neck joint. This neck joint is probably about a 90% good job. Looks like when they were machining it in there, they had to wangle it a little bit to get it to fit real snug. But I don't see any space. I don't see any space in that joint right there. I don't see any cracks. I don't see any stress cracks at the head. I don't see anything going on up here. Made in China, which we knew. Look at those tuning pegs. I don't know if it's going to focus on them. Those are sort of like an aged looking, they're looks like they've been sandblasted or something. They are pretty substantial. All right, now let's talk about the features. It looks like it survived shipping without any problem. I don't see any, wow, these screws that they use are actually, the finish on them is kind of crappy. I'll tell you what, look at, can you see the finish on those screws? Look at that one. Rusty and shitty. And look at, this one looks like they had trouble turning it. It looks a little bit stripped. I don't know, man. Don't know. I know they must have used some sort of sander or sanding, because look, even the pickup plastic is worn away in the same places. Can you see this? Divot, divot, divot. Isn't that odd? And like a Fender Stratocaster, sorry, like a Fender Strat, that thin E string is not exactly over the pole piece. Can you see it? It's close enough, but it's not directly over it. I thought that was an American disease. So anyway, let's take a look at these saddles. Look at, see how that one kinks off that way a little bit? This one on the end kinks out that way. You see? While this one's straight. If I try to move them, I'd have to get a screwdriver or something and try and move them. I'll get to that later. So cosmetically speaking, this guitar, look, it's got a little hot spot on the neck right there, a little boo-boo. I don't know if you can see it clearly. I know there's not a lot of light over here into the camera. The fingerboard has that little spot on it. Now the frets, they're pretty well sanded down. Yeah, they really rolled off the ends very well. I'll give them that. I don't feel any hang-ups here. None. Nothing I would bother tampering with. And the finish on those frets is pretty good. Can you see? It's not bad. It's pretty mirror-like. I'm still going to buff it with a little something, but not anything. Not anything abrasive. No sandpaper. Probably just that nail buffer. But they tried to make it look old, and they kind of did. But the way they did it was to kind of just, it looks more like mistakes than it does age in some places. So there's that to think about. And the strings that are on it, they feel like could be 8s or 9s. Let's put a little regular string tension, see what happens. These tuning pegs, these tuning keys, they are geared really high. In other words, you give it a little turn and you get a lot of turn. on the string. In other words, hard to control. Gonna probably be tough to keep in tune, you know. This one, not so sure. I'm hoping that this unfinished body will be resonant sonically. We have not checked anything with the electronics. Let's try turning these knobs. A little stiff like a new pot would be. About the same. All three of them about the same. Selector switch is 5 position. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hopefully the 2 and the 4 will be in the out of phase position. And the middle one is probably reverse wound, I'm guessing. I have not plugged it in at all. You've seen it. It came right out of the box. You've known this guitar for as long as I have. Let's take a look at the other minor hardware. That strap peg is in there really good. This strap peg over here is in there really good. I like to do a trick with that neck. Look at this neck plate. That's worth the whole guitar right there. Look at it. It's raised. That is a relief neck plate with the serial number on it. Check the serial number. So, wow. That neck plate is probably the highest quality piece of hardware on this guitar so far. But I'm mostly interested in the neck and the pickups, as you would be too. Okay? Let's see what happens when we plug this bad boy in. I'm going to turn that on. I've got it set up kind of clean. Let's see what we get here. I've got it down in the bridge position. All 3 knobs all the way up. Now I tuned that by ear. You heard that. I didn't put a tuner on it yet. So if it goes out of tune a little bit, that'll be kind of on me. I gotta say, that's a pretty biting tone. It's not really buzzing, I just play kind of hard. Let's try the second position selector switch. Pretty predictable. Let's try the middle pickup by itself. A lot of power. Alright, let's try that ever so sweet 4th position out of phase for a mixture of the neck and middle pickups. You can hear I was kind of out of tune. Like I said, that's on me. And quickly tune it. Chord run down for looking for buzz. The action on this is pretty damn good just the way it is. And here's position number 5, the neck pickup by itself. Let's compare it to number 3 position, which is the middle pickup. Let's see how it compares to the neck pickup by itself. It's louder. And the bridge position. The middle position pickup is the loudest, which means I'll be adjusting the heights of these. This one could be a little bit higher. The neck position could be a little bit closer to the strings. And the bridge position is already pretty close. So what I'll probably do is I'll back the mid pickup away a hair, back the neck pickup up a hair, lift it up a hair, and leave the bridge where it is. And that should even out the outputs. I'll go through and check them audibly afterwards. But so far, so good. Except for a few cosmetic little issues that I saw. I don't really see anything bad. Let's continue this video with something remedial. I'll show you what I mean. I'm going to do something here. What that is involves that nice old neck plate we saw. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and check the integrity of that neck joint. Trust the old tool case. What we are going to do, folks, you might have seen this done before. We are going to loosen these under string tension. We're going to loosen those just a hair, all 4 of them. What we're waiting to see is, does it make a crack sound, a little tiny receding sound, as the strings pull the neck closer to the body? Doing that, I find, is a trick that actually gets you a little bit more tone from the wood of the guitar. This neck is supposed to be satinized, but let me tell you something, that just feels like wood to me. That just feels like wood. No, don't be thinking that, all right, okay? Don't be thinking that. If your wood does feel like that, you should be proud, not making fun. So let's see what happens when we release the tension, just a hair. I can't bring you in any closer, I don't think. Well, a little bit. I can't make the audio any closer, though. Here we go. Ooh, it's in there good and tight. Just a hair there. Crosswise. Just a hair there. Hair. Hair. You know what? I'm not feeling any sort of receding. That's actually a good thing. Just a hair. You don't want to unscrew this too much with string tension on. You see how I'm giving it a little bit of back and forth? Trying to make it move. That neck, as far as I can tell, hasn't moved a fraction of a millimeter. Let's tighten it back up. That means that whoever installed the neck had an idea about getting the best full contact between the wood. That sound was just one of the bubbles popping. Don't get scared. Don't get scared like I was just then. Okay. Pretty dang good. Well, I'll probably tweak this a little bit, play with it a little bit. Yeah, there's a couple little blemishes here and there. Look at. You see that? See that little white spot? Yeah. Oh, you know what? It's a piece of wax and it's actually chipping off. Oh well, I'll probably be able to get that. This is a rush manufacturing job. See that line? You see it? Stuff like that. The neck, I thought the neck was going to be something other than it is. The neck actually looks finished somehow. It appears to be rosewood, but it does have, the neck does have a little blemish right here, right? And that fret right in front of my finger. I don't know if you can see it. That's the only blemish on the neck. Otherwise, it looks pretty good. So anyway, are you with me? I'm going to take that guitar and put it through a few paces. I'm going to apply a few little, technician tricks that I know to try and improve things. Right now, I can tell you that right out of the box, as you saw, without so much as a case to protect it, the neck feels phenomenal. The frets are rather large and well polished, and they seem to be pretty even. I need to play it a while to find any bud spots, any low or high spots. And I will be back to report to you what I find. I'm going to probably plug the guitar in different settings, maybe give a little bit of cheese, maybe a couple of effects, see what I can get out of that. just go through everything with a fine-tooth comb. And I'll come back for a wrap-up in just a few moments. Thank you for hanging with me. So far, this video has been 1/2 hour long according to the counter, but I probably will edit out some of the stuff that I did there that you just don't need to watch, like my tuning and stuff like that. So, well, I'm back. Gave this puppy the good personal once-over that any guitar player is going to do when he gets it. But my once-overs come with the background history that I've been pissed off by a lot of guitars in the past and have excuse me, and have had a few bad experiences. And the worst thing that can happen, from my point of view, in my honest opinion, is that you get a guitar that has certain attributes or qualities that are amazing, phenomenal, fantastic, you're in love with them. But yet, you go over that same guitar and you'll find other problems that you need to decide whether or not are deal breakers for you. So that is the critical eye and ear with which I have finished the evaluation of this guitar. And I'll point out to you a few things that I discovered after the big box opening and I had some time to play with it. Well, the first few things I'll mention are things that you'll find in any new guitar, okay? Every guitar out of the box is, nowadays the factories are pretty good about a setup being close, not probably perfect, which was the case with this guitar. It was close, but not perfect, and that's okay. That's okay. That's expected work. And what I did, the expected work was, I had to monkey around with the saddles a bit because the intonation was a little funky. If you look at where the saddles are resting now. It's kind of they're not real even, but that's what it took to get the intonation in. But that's also because I had to monkey with the action. The action on the guitar right out of the box was not bad. Not bad, but not suited probably to my playing style. Excuse me. I'm coughing from the absence of cigars or pipes in this video. If I had one, I wouldn't be coughing. That, by the way, is bullshit, and tell your kids that what I just said was a joke. The problems that I encountered with the guitar, and I mean, now the following are problems, not setup items. So the setup items were simple. I just basically set the individual actions, okay? I set the intonation, but before I did any of that, I had to open up that truss rod cavity and get in there, and I actually had to relax it a bit. It was straight as an arrow. I mean, like an arrow straight, which in some cases is good. But that's only good if your nut heights are all correct. That's important. Your nut height, that's most of your playability. This one, was close. It's close. Not enough for me to really frig with, but, the nut height had something to do with it. So I relaxed the neck just to put ever the slightest amount of relief in it. And I'm talking like if you were to look down it, you'd have to look twice to spot the relief, but it's there. When I first tried to set the action with the neck just the way it was, straight like that, I found that every here and there was just enough buzz or that kind of like mosquito-y little tang that you hear that you could live without, And if it's something that you could live without, but you don't hate, maybe you'll settle for that. I don't. It's just my personal preference. So I had to make microscopic tweaks to the truss rod and the action height on the bridge saddles themselves, and the intonation. So I adjusted the neck first. I adjusted the truss rod first to relieve it a little bit. I adjusted the saddles then to get them to the right height so that the action was pretty uniform and followed the radius of the frets. And then lastly, of course, that's when you do your intonation, which I did, and I got that pretty much right on the numbers. And as it turns out, the frets are quite well leveled. They are. They did a good job. whoever made this guitar, I mean, their manager was whipping their ass and saying, if nothing else, get the frets right. And they did. There's no fret sprout on the ends that I can find. None. Nice and smooth. Smooth as a baby's ass. I can run my hand up and down this neck, and there is nothing catches at all. And the surfaces are quite well polished, actually. And that for me, that's a biggie, because I always go through with my little buffer and make them like mirrors. This one, I'd be nitpicking if I did that. I might still if I get bored, but for now it's great. Now let me get to those problems that I mentioned. The problems this guitar has are, it looks almost as if there were lapses in workmanship. For instance, this little line right here, can you see the line? That little line in the finish, that's a scratch. Somebody scratched this up installing something. That's a scratch. And there is no finish on this wood to really do anything with. I'd almost have to sand that off, and then I'd have to sort of restain the wood. But for that one spot, I'd end up with a dark or light spot on the guitar that would be, an eyesore. And this scratch in the back here, you see that scratch? Well, that, my friends, is a cat scratch. I was monkeying with the back plate, and I'm going to show you a couple of pictures in a moment that'll show you why I was monkeying with the back plate. And one of my tools decided to take a trip without my hand and just go down that back. And you can see what happens when this kind of finish gets scratched. It turns white. Because I think they just basically rubbed a lot of wax into that wood or something. Maybe it's tongue oil that they let dry really well, but it doesn't feel particularly oily. It feels almost kind of waxy. I'm not sure what they did to the finish. I mean, the grooves of the grain of the wood, they are so damn deep. I mean, it would be like the Grand Canyon if you were an ant walking through that. I mean, they're deep. There's no doubt about it. That's, that wood was sandblasted before they put anything on it. That much I'm convinced of. And so now when you do scratch it, whatever it is that they finish it with, whatever it is they rubbed into it, turns white. Which, I mean, I'm not worried about that. That's in the back. It's not like I'm going to sell the thing. The other problems, like I said, look at the pictures that I show you, and you'll see. They cannibalized pieces from old guitars to make this look old. That's what they did. I don't care. I mean, let them sue me if I'm wrong. But, I mean, these screws here, some of these screws, I mean, they're not relict. They're old. And even the screw slots are, some of them are kind of stripped out. Look, next to the pickups. Pardon my phone going off down there. Look next to the pickup. Look at that screw. That is rusty and shitty and older than God's great-grandparents. They allowed a lot of the oxidation to get on the magnet tips too of the pickups. I'm not sure about the pickups. I mean, I've seen pickups be aged in strange ways. They end up with rust on them, basically. I'm not going to scream about that. Really, I only care that the guitar is solid and sounds and plays good. Me, I'm not a cosmetic monster. I don't give a shit about, little things about the finish looking crappy. But it's not so much that it looks crappy. It's that it's old and is crappy. Now, luckily, the metal underneath the rust still has its integrity. And I checked the screw threads, and they all seem to be kind of okay. Although the ones in the back, these in the back, the threads are even rusty and shitty. So they just laid out somewhere in the moisture for God knows how long. Probably in somebody's workbench somewhere, and they just harvested a bunch of old parts and threw them together. So they'll use that on there. That'll look old. Now, sonically, Sonically, even out in open air, it just kind of sounds like a Strat. But it sounds like a bright Strat because it doesn't have any laminate on it. Doesn't have any finish to give it more weight. It's pretty heavy as it is. I believe it's ash, you know. It's ash wood, and you can tell that it's ash. But it's maybe not quite as resonant as alder wood, but it is close when there's no finish on it. So I kind of like that idea. On a clean channel on my little stage right amp over there, it's actually not bad now. Now that I've got the pickup heights set correctly, I've got the string action set where I like it, where it doesn't buzz anywhere. And I've got the intonation fixed now, and it's in good tune. Now, this is the time, you know, that you can tell what it's got and what it hasn't got. Sonically, that's the neck pickup by itself. It sounds pretty sweet on a clean channel. I got that set where it's just going to bark a little bit if I hit it. No pick, can't play. One thing I did find. There's your bridge position pickup. It's nice and bright. I did have to adjust the heights of the three pickups, and they came out quite different actually in order to get them to be of equivalent volume. When I moved that amp over to a crunchy distortion, that's when I realized that the output of these pickups is actually kind of low. Now, that's not a bad thing. It's just a preferential thing. Some people like low output pickups. You can tell they're a high output pickup if you put the cheese on an amp like that, which is just, you know, an AX7, a 12 AX7 tube. Actually, a couple, three of them. Anyway, you put them through hot tubes like that, and you get that nice, big, huge, crunchy distortion. Well, with this amp, with this guitar in that amp, I couldn't get it. Not like my other Strat does. And even my Bullet has more on the ball for driving the cheese, the overdrive. This one didn't have that much of it. If you like a Strat and you play a Strat like a blues guy will, then this would be great. Because if you want more distortion, you've got to get it with your effects or with your amp, some kind of pedal. I've got, God knows, plenty of distortion pedals to drive a low output guitar. So I wouldn't really worry too much about that, but it's great on a clean channel though. When I have it clean, kind of like it is now, it's very expressive. In fact, I'll even drop the regular gain to make it a little cleaner, give it a little more headroom. So I mean, you get that nice, bright, cheerful. It's nice. Low output pickups are nice in a clean channel, and so I like it for that reason. Oh, there's one last thing I'm going to show you too. Right here, I don't know if you can see it, but the fretboard is wider than the neck right there by about a half a millimeter. Not on this side. Not on your thumb side. That's nice and flush, perfect. But this side, I could get my fingernail into that groove, and if I slide it down, right there, about the 3rd fret, that's where it becomes flush with the neck. From here to the nut, it is proud. You're never going to feel that because when you're playing, your hand is not against it. The curl of your fingers is away from it. So you're not touching that. You don't notice it, but you do notice it when you go to pick the guitar up. Put it back in the case or something, you'll feel that. I don't know that I'm going to mess with that at all because I don't really give a shit, but you might. So all that said, and the guitar having been demoed for you, the setup on it was easy. No different from any other Strat style guitar. The shipping was adequate to get it to you without it breaking. So now you have to decide to yourself whether the GFS Slick SL57 black ash, natural finish guitar, Strat style slick guitar, is worth the money. You have to ask yourself that question. My answer to that question is that I would have to say barely. Barely. I'm not going to call that a bargain. It's not a deal. It's not a bargain. The guitar is very popular and goes out of stock the minute it comes into stock. So I was lucky to get one at all. And it is a real player. It's a player's guitar. I mean, it is probably lucky that the market loves that guitar right now, because if you got one and didn't like it, somebody would buy it off you. I guarantee it. But that somebody, if he's been at it for as long as I've been at it, may find the same issues, and he'll pass it along to the next person. So all that guitar is really doing is surfing the market from person to person. But it can be played, and it can be made to sound really nice. Apart from that proud fretboard near the top of the neck there, the rest of that neck is just spectacular. I mean, it is nice and solid, nice piece of maple there, and the body being ash is deeply, deeply figured, as you can see. You got to kind of like that harsh look. It's like a piece of furniture, really. So my opinion is that it's just about worth the money. I wouldn't pay more than what I paid for it. You can go on the GuitarFetish.com website and see what the pricing is for these guitars. The pickups that are in this guitar are available individually as well. They do sell slick pickups on GFS, on GuitarFetish.com, and those are pretty nice, and I would not hesitate to drop those into another, Strat style guitar. So that's kind of my find on the Slick SL57. I'm going to bring this to a close. This video has been very long. Thank you for staying with me for the whole thing. If you buy one, I hope you enjoy it, and I will just leave you with the wish for a very, very happy and prosperous 2021. Because 2020, it's the worst year that I can remember since I was grown up. I can't think of a worse year. Many things I haven't even mentioned. I mean, many things that the whole public knows about, and many things in my private life have just turned to caca. So I'm glad to see 2020 gone, and I hope that 2021 brings in the opportunity for better times. And I will wish happiness and luck and prosperity on you and everybody else. Keep your hands hot, and come see me again sometime. Thank you, and Happy New Year.